What's up, guys? I'm your host, Mario Maitland. You are listening to What's Next podcast. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. We're here with yet another episode. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. That will definitely help us out a lot. This episode is sponsored by Blueberry Snacks. If you like me and you like to keep your energy up, Blueberry Snacks might be the one for you. They strongly support women in sports, and they actually are a proud partner of W1974 Collective. Today, we got a very, very special guest on, Mr. Kenny Brooks. I'm honored to be sitting apart, right next to you, man, and kind of, feel your aura in my presence. So it's been a blast, man, just being able to be able to set this thing up and, have you here for a great conversation we're going to have here on What's Next podcast. Before we get into anything, man, how are you doing today? I know you were kind of busy. You had to, switch your schedule up, and kind of get us in this. How you doing today?
It's kind of like organized chaos. I mean, I've gotten used to the chaos right now. And obviously when you come in and you're starting totally over, and every year, every era is different.
Yes.
And now with the transfer portal, you can kind of makeshift your whole program, in a couple months. And so we hit the ground running. Then I'm trying to do the normal things like a father would do, a husband would do.
Exactly.
Trying to find a home, trying to, understand Lexington a little bit.
The outside of stuff.
Outside stuff that people don't really take into consideration. They take for granted, so to speak. But just trying to get all that in order. It's been a whirlwind of a summer. But we've enjoyed every minute of it, and Lexington's been really good to us.
What's the transition like from Virginia to Lexington, Kentucky? Kind of, you have both college towns kind of thing, but Lexington's a lot different than Virginia. How has the transition been for you?
It's been challenging. I've been born and raised, lived every day of my life in Virginia. Moved to Lexington. A lot of similarities, as you mentioned, college towns, but different college towns.
Yes.
Blacksburg, Virginia, very small. Very small. You have a couple restaurants that you frequent and you only go to. Yeah. You come to Lexington and you deal with choices because you have so many. Diversity, and then also traffic. And,
traffic is terrible, man.
Traffic, So there's a lot to get used to, but a lot of similarities. But just the excitement of rebuilding, a proud program, a proud university, and one of the things I really realized is that trying to just navigate. I step outside my door and everybody wants to talk about Kentucky basketball. So
this is Big Blue Nation.
Yeah,
man.
Big Blue Nation, man, in full effect, and I'm feeling it. So it's been a wonderful experience.
So you built the powerhouse in Virginia. What inspired you to come to Kentucky, man? It's a little bit different. Has some similarities, but program has seen its fair share of success, but they're still trying to find their ground at the same time. What has inspired you to come to Kentucky?
First and foremost, love my time at Virginia Tech. Was not looking to move. We had built something that was very, very special there. This opportunity presented itself, and I think any competitor, we're competitive, you're competitive in your field.
Absolutely.
I'm competitive in my field, and you want to be able to have the best of the resources to allow yourself to compete for the big prize. I was at a mid-major my start, and we were just trying to make a name for ourselves. We got to Virginia Tech, and we were still trying to make a name for ourselves. We got a taste of the big time. We went to the Final Four. And, we came very, very close. Yeah. And once you get that taste, you want to be able to put yourself in position to achieve that every year. And so when the Kentucky opportunity presented itself, it's Kentucky. It's blue blood. Blue blood. And one of the things that I'm realizing right off the bat, based off the reputation that we have coming from Virginia Tech, couple that with the reputation of Kentucky, and we're getting into a lot of doors. Getting into a lot of homes that we feel like that if we can continue to make those strides, we can build a contender. And that was one of the things that really was challenging for me and were intriguing for me. And I just want to compete. I want to win at the highest level, and this gave me that opportunity.
Are there similarities from you being at Virginia to Kentucky? Like, do you see similar similarities, like in that aspect?
Yeah, I think you can always find similarities in something that you're looking for or looking into and comparing it. But it's a different era. It's a different time. Okay. When I took over at Virginia Tech 8-9 years ago. It was a different time. There was no transfer portal.
Yeah, NIL's in there as well. So
NIL, and even the landscape of college athletics in general has changed tremendously. And so now, there is the NIL.
Yeah.
Now, on the horizon, there is revenue sharing. And there are so many different things that will impact, young people's decisions on where they want to go and how they want to compete. You even look at, the landscape of, the Power Fives. There's no more Power Five.
Yeah.
And so, I was talking with my assistants, just yesterday, and he said, we have to be ready to pivot. We have to evolve because the landscape is changing and you want to stay ahead of it so that you can be a major player.
Okay.
In this industry, and I think we're well on our way of doing that, and it's very exciting times. It's very uneasy times because you just don't know the formula yet.
Yeah,
and
everything's new.
Yeah, we're still trying to navigate through all that.
So, most challenging part you would say so far? I know you're still kind of early. You started in March, and now you're still kind of trying to find your ground. But what's been the most challenging part, of your job overall? Is it the roster construction that you kind of had to break down, or is it just you adjusting to the fan base, and the new era like you talked about, NIL, how college basketball has changed so much? What's been the most challenging?
I'm going to blow your mind with this one, and it's going to be, and you're going to understand me a little bit, but the most challenging part of it is family, making sure my family is okay. Yeah, so when you can move, and what people don't see behind the scenes is that I'm a father. I'm a husband,
yep.
And I am the provider. I'm the caretaker, and I got to make sure they're okay. If they're okay, then I can be okay, and if I'm okay, then I can work. But if they're not okay, then you
got to handle that first.
Yeah, you struggle. You go back home and you worry about that, or if you are trying to do your job, you're worrying about if they're okay, because you're uprooting them from what they know to something that they totally don't know.
Has that been hard for you, just being able to balance? I know your daughter's here now, and you've been back and forth to Virginia and Kentucky. Like, what's it been like for you overall, just trying to, make sure your family's okay and balance the new job as well?
It's been difficult, and it's not in a bad way. It's just different, when you're laying in an apartment and your wife is, 5 hours away at the home.
Yes.
Or you have, one daughter's getting married, and, you just have so many moving parts. But I think that's an underrated aspect of a coach's life that a lot of people don't understand.
It's the behind-the-scenes stuff.
Behind the scenes. They don't see it because you don't promote it as much. And but for me, making sure that they're okay. Now, when they're okay, now I can get to the roster reconstruction. Yeah. Then I can get to handling the NIL. I can get to, hey, what is this revenue sharing going to be like? And once you can do that, then you can do your job to the fullest. I have a tremendous family support system. They back me in whatever I want to do. They're just on board. They're my ride or dies.
Yeah,
they've been tremendous throughout my whole career. And allowed me to chase my dreams. And in that process, we've come closer as a family.
Awesome. And I think, Coach Brooks, a lot of people forget that you guys are human beings.
Yeah.
Coaches and athletes, they're human beings. Yeah. Like, they have an outside life. I'm starting to realize that because, I'm in a new position now, and it's like, I'm focused on media, but I have outside life too as well, so that you got to balance. So I love to hear you say that, man. Let's talk about roster construction. We talked a little bit about that. As far as what I'm seeing on this roster, it looks a little bit different compared to the Kentucky teams of the past. This team has a lot more size on its roster. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that, and what are you excited for from this roster that you got?
I'm very proud of my staff. We hit the ground running, and we put together a tremendous roster in a short amount of time. I've had some unfortunate injuries, and I think they've been documented, and a couple of kids will not be with us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully they can just rehab and get better. But I still like what we have, and it was by design to bring the size in.
Yeah.
We had tremendous success with it at Virginia Tech my last few years, where we had Elizabeth Kitley, who was a 6'6" All-American center.
Yeah.
And then we brought in Clara Strack last year, who was a freshman who just really exceeded our expectations early. Mm-hmm. And we were able to play them together. Wow. And that presented challenges for so many different people.
Teams. Yeah.
And we talked about it, and we talked about it early on in the season. And we were like, okay, well, maybe Clara Strack at 6'5" won't be able to guard a traditional 4. And then we got to thinking about it, and we were like, well, maybe that traditional 4 won't be able to guard Clara Strack either.
There you go.
And that was our formula. It worked extremely well together. We're bringing in another young lady from Portugal, 6'7", Clara da Silva.
Yes.
And she's had a tremendous summer for us. And we like that. We like that size, but they have to be versatile. They have to be mobile. And we think that those young ladies can play together. You add Tiani Key, a 6'4", former McDonald's All-American from University of North Carolina, who I've known since she was probably about 12 years old.
Wow.
And so, it does give us size. It gives us some size. And with the way things are going, we might have to play them together some. So we're excited about that. We think it presents some challenges. In this day and age, big players, they're so agile.
Versatile. You can do so many different things on the floor, yeah.
Clara Strack is shooting a three like, a guard right now. And so, we'll utilize that, and we're looking forward to it. But I like the construction of it. And then obviously, I have my little mini-me,
yes.
Georgia Amore. That she and I are joined at the hip. And it's been a relationship that's been extremely special to me. It's one that every coach in America would only dream of. And it's something that I've been able to experience, and just the way that we know each other. We can finish each other's sentences.
Oh, wow. That's that connection.
Yeah. And so there have been several times where she's come over to me and, she's suggesting something that she sees on the floor. I don't even question it.
That's awesome.
I just say, let's just go with it because we
on the court coach right there. I like that.
It's my extension of me. And so it's been a wonderful experience. So, that's a good start for us. And then now, the recruiting part of it is, really taking off because, like I mentioned before, just the reputation that we bring from Virginia Tech, along with the reputation of Kentucky, it's getting us into a lot of homes.
Playstyle, what will it look like? You got a lot more size. Maybe are you guys going to be in the half court a little bit more? I don't know. What is it going to look like? I know you have a lot of shooters, kind of, being played around these 6'7", 6'6", 6'4" girls. What does it look like in terms of play style? Up and down a little bit?
Yeah, a lot of people want to bring me in to speak, and the generic question is, what's your philosophy? And I'll just ask them, what year you're asking about? Because you have to learn how to evolve. You do. And when I first got to Virginia Tech, we were small. We didn't have a dominant center, so we were playing small ball. We were running up and down, shooting threes, and trying to take advantage of our strengths. And then all of a sudden, you get a 6'6" All-American.
Got to be a little bit different now.
A 3-time ACC Player of the Year, and you're going to be like, "Hey, man, slow it down. Let's slow it down in the half court." And then when that becomes your formula, and we have the same type of roster, we're going to look to push it up and try to get easy opportunities early. If not, we're going to be very smart, and then we're going to try to be extremely efficient in our half-court set. You want to utilize your strengths. And our strengths right now, we have a lot of height. And so we probably will play a little bit slower than I anticipated, in the beginning as you're trying to establish yourself.
Yeah.
But we'll look to be opportunistic in the fast break.
Depends on your team, right?
Depends on your team. Depends on the night. Depends on your opponent, so... but one thing I will know is what will be consistent is we'll play hard.
Absolutely.
And we'll be a fun team to watch because, I think that everyone will see that, they're giving everything that they have.
This roster has so many different, weapons on it.
Yeah.
You got All-Americans coming back. You got your returners from Kentucky last season, Sanaya Tyler and Cassidy Rowe, who's been in the gym constantly. And then you got some incoming freshmen. I can read the list. Tanaya Becker, Lexi Blue, lights out shooter from Lake Highland Prep, Orlando, Florida.
She's got the best Kentucky name.
Yes, she does.
Right, Lexi Blue.
Lexi Blue.
We couldn't have even, like, if that was a Disney movie, nobody would even believe it. Like the character's name, nobody would believe it, right?
Yes, has to come to Kentucky, right? Has to. But yeah, man, like, I guess, is there a player that really stands out to you so far? I know it's still early in the summer workouts, but have anybody really stood out that has made major improvements from being, from starting from campus?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously Clara Strack, as I mentioned before, Clara, backstory on Clara, she's young. She's supposed to be a freshman this year.
Oh, wow. So she's a class up.
She's a class up. When she got to us at Virginia Tech, our intentions was to redshirt her because we knew she was young. She didn't turn 18 until, I think, December of her freshman year, so she was a baby.
Yeah, she's young,
but she just exceeded our expectations back then. She worked hard, extremely high IQ player, and to the point where she worked herself into the strong rotation at the end of the year. And then when Kitley got hurt, she stepped in the postseason. I think she averaged about 17 points a game in the postseason as a young freshman. Yeah. And so, but she's gotten even better, since the end of the season, and I've been extremely proud of her development. As she continues to grow and get better. Then the other one I probably would have to say is Tiani Key. You know, coming from North Carolina, you know, she played sparingly. You know, didn't play as much. Played behind a few really good players. Got here, and just from day one with us, she's expanded her range. She's shooting a 3-point shot now. You know, some of her post moves are developing. She has things that you can't teach. Length. You know, she's very, very long, and so I think she's going to be able to help us as well. And I'm excited about, you know, where she started from to where she is right now.
Hope you guys are enjoying the show. I wanted to tell you a little bit more about Blueberry Snacks. Blueberry Super Snacks has plenty different options, and it is located all throughout Kentucky. They proudly support women athletics here at UK. They are actually a proud partner of the W1974 collective, multiple different flavors. Chocolate right here in front of me, roasted coconut, mocha, and sea salt. 10 different locations, as you guys can see on the pop-up screen. Make sure you go check that out. They are very, very good, especially if you're looking to, you know, uplift your energy or start your day off with the easy, quick nutritional snack. They're the one to go to. My favorite is the chocolate. Like to keep it basic. Has a lot of flavor in there, and it has a lot of good fats that are healthy for you as well. So make sure you check that out. That's all we got for today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode. You said you're excited about them. You want to know what I'm excited about?
What's that?
Memorial Coliseum.
Yeah.
Memorial Coliseum is going to be electric next season, man. I know I don't know if you know what it's going to look like. I don't know. Did you get a chance to check out the gym or anything like that?
I coached here against Kentucky, probably like in 2000 and maybe 8.
Yeah.
9. And even then, I thought great arena, probably a little bit tired, and
getting a little old.
Yeah, getting a little bit older.
Has that historical feel though?
Historic, great atmosphere, great history. But then when I heard that they were remodeling it, that was one of the things that really lured me in. Yeah. You know, it lured me in. I'm like, man, they're going to have a nice, you know, home court advantage because, you know, some arenas are really good, and we were fortunate enough at Virginia Tech where we got to the point where we were selling it out.
Oh, wow.
Fantastic, 9,000 people, fantastic atmosphere for women's basketball. But if you don't sell it out, it can feel a little empty.
Yeah. And
we used to go to NC State, and they remodeled Reynolds Coliseum, historic, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I always thought it was the perfect arena for women's basketball.
Yeah.
Now with Memorial's, you know, remodeling, I think it's going to be exactly the same. You know, you had the history. You know, you put a couple bells and whistles around it, and then you add the history to it.
Exactly, has that good blend.
It's going to be a tremendous selling point for us. We just redid. We're sitting in this beautiful.
It's amazing.
Beautiful.
It's amazing.
Film room. Almost too nice. You know, they're going to sit here and they might be, you know, sleep watching.
Take a nap.
But you go across the hall, and the locker room is one of the best locker rooms I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So in this day and age, you need that. You need that, and because you have to be able to be in the game. You can't have an older space that they're going to be living in, and then they go somewhere else and they see a newer space.
And yeah,
you know, those can be some deciding factors. So excited about the whole remodeling situation, and I think there's going to be, you know, something that's going to help us.
Camera's right on you. I'm putting you on the spot, Brooks. Tell Big Blue Nation what they can expect when they go into Memorial Coliseum for their game day experience.
You know, I think what you're going to expect, you're going to come to expect the kids first and foremost. They're going to give their utmost effort. That's going to relate to excitement. There's going to relate to a camaraderie. You're going to feel connected with the kids, and when you feel connected like that, I always say a good home court can make a good team great. And I think with the support that we're going to get, you know, everyone's going to have a wonderful experience, and Memorial, that's going to generate, you know, a few more points for us a game. And, you know, in the tough SEC, you're going to need every point you can get. So I think that this is going to be a tremendous family atmosphere. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I think there's going to be a lot of memories made. So, you know, come on out, bring a friend, tell your friend to bring a friend, so on and so forth. And I think this is going to be, it can be one of the best home court advantages for women's basketball.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that, man. I want to touch a little bit on recruiting before we let you go. A little bit different than Virginia Tech. You kind of hinted at it earlier about how the brand, Kentucky itself, is so strong in recruiting. Does your approach change now that you're at Kentucky with recruiting compared to Virginia Tech? Does your approach change? What What happens with that?
Absolutely. It changes. And I think it has to change regardless of where you go, because you have to build off of the strength of the university, of the history. Virginia Tech, we didn't have any. We didn't have any, and we were building it. And so now they have it. So now they have it. But we're building off of the brand, the brand in itself. And it's been amazing for me, very comforting for me to know that, when you can call the number one player in the country and they'll pick up the phone.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, okay, you're in the mix for a lot of different people. It is something. But I think that gets us in the door, and I think it's up to myself, my staff, the university administration, to be able to keep those kids in the door. Because,
absolutely.
Because women's basketball is entering a golden era.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. And I think that there's a lot more resources being invested in women's basketball across the country. So now each individual program has to understand what they want to be.
Exactly.
And so we have the opportunity to capitalize on this. And I'm hoping that we can do that, because it's a golden era for it. And women's basketball is just ascending to the top.
Yeah, it's definitely growing.
We want to take advantage of that, because I think we got the resources to be able to do that.
For the young ladies that are watching this right now, in high school, has aspirations to play at the next level, what are 3 things that you look for when you're in the gym and you're scouting for your next, top prospect? Well, what are those 3 things?
Talent. Talent is, first and foremost. Second, I would say character. I have a saying: everything ain't for everybody. I know it's grammatically incorrect. You can be talented as all get out, but maybe, the other things don't fit. Maybe it's just an opportunity. We don't need that position. There's no discredit to who you are, what you can do. But we want to make sure that, your character is good. What are you doing when somebody's not watching?
Yeah.
We go and watch kids so much, and within the first few times you watch them play, you can tell if they're good enough for you. But you'll go watch them play 50 more times, and you're looking at little things. How do they interact with their teammates when they're on the bench? How do they interact with their coaches when they're not playing well? How do they interact with their parents at the concession stand? Those are all the things that we look for. And then the last thing is fit, as I mentioned before. Is it going to be a good fit? You might be talented, you might be great, but I might not need a point guard in that class.
Makes sense.
And so a lot of things that go into it. Obviously there's a little bit more. You only gave me 3, but grades. Grades. If you're a 3.5 student and you're on the same level as a kid who's a 2.5 student, we're probably going to take the 3.5 student because
academics.
But it's also work ethic. Because you're probably putting more into everything. I always say how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you go and you really focus on your schoolwork, you're probably going to really focus on your
things. Workouts and everything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. I like that point, man.
So we look at that. And then the last thing, I know I've gone past the 3, but, once we get deep into it, we'll look at the parents.
Really? Family. Family tells you a lot about the person, doesn't it?
If they're up in the stands yelling at the coaches because the kid ain't, not getting the shots or whatever, what makes you think they're going to stop when they get to college? It's going to be the
might be worse.
It could be worse.
Might be worse.
So a lot of factors that go into it, and and it sometimes I sit back and it amazes me how each individual kid actually gets there, because they have their own story and how the recruiting process went and how they had to make it, and it's a lot of fun. And the older you get, you start forgetting some of those stories, but it's pretty cool.
You talked about. You just said it. You're getting older. You've been coaching for 22 seasons now.
Yeah.
Long time. In a different conference. You're in the SEC now. You were just in the ACC. Correct me if I'm wrong. What do you bring from the ACC? What lessons do you bring from the ACC that you want to carry over to the SEC? You've been coaching a long time.
Winning. A lot of people have, that's been like the ongoing slogan, saying, whatever. Man, you're in the SEC now. What are you going to do? We're going to adapt.
Yeah.
We're going to adapt. And you go, and when I was at Virginia Tech, we played a lot of games against teams from the SEC.
Right.
And we had success. And we had some failures. And I think that's what you're going to have to do. But in the end, it's basketball. And in the end, as much as I'm going to have to adapt to the SEC, if the SEC is different, then the SEC will also have to adapt to what we're doing.
Right.
You know, so I think every program is different. It just happens to be that more SEC teams play alike, but every program is going to be different that you have to prepare for. So we're excited. New coaches, new venues, new cities that we'll be going to. But I just don't even know right now. There's such a changing time that, like I mentioned before, it's not even Power 5 anymore. It's Power 4.
Wow.
So you talk about like teams, and you talk about like the Big Ten. Well, the Big Ten played a certain way. Well, now all of a sudden they got USC and UCLA in the Big Ten. So
conference
now we're
change.
adding Texas and Oklahoma. You look at the ACC now. Stanford's in the ACC. So you talk about it's really hard to just categorize playing styles now because you're integrating new teams into different conferences. So everything's going to be different.
I want to ask you before I let you go, just the overall trajectory that women's college basketball is headed into. You know, Caitlin Clark, very popular, was huge for women's college basketball. I want to ask you, Coach Brooks, what does the future look like for women's college basketball? What do you have to say about that? I know you're huge on pushing the game forward. What are your plans in terms of continuing to do that?
Love this question because I think I answer it in a way that surprises some people. I think we have the responsibility to continue the growth of women's basketball because of the time we're in. You know, we put ourselves in position. We put ourselves on a stage where, okay, now the people are watching.
All right.
So now it's our responsibility to make people want to continue to watch. Make new people want to watch. And I think you do that by continuing to grow the game by implementing new rules. I don't think anybody wants to turn on a TV and watch a slugfest. I think people want to watch, the game and how beautiful it can be.
Exactly.
They want to see the showcasing of a Caitlin Clark.
Talent.
Talent and not just see her go out there and get beat up. And I think that it's not the responsibility of the coaches. It's not the responsibility of the referees. It's the responsibility of the rule makers. You look at what the NBA was and what it was becoming when the games were 78 to 74.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
When people were going to the rack and they were getting clobbered, people stopped watching.
Yeah.
Then they implemented rules that favored the offense. Favored the offense. And now they're getting what's the TV deal for the NBA that they just signed?
Huge. It's
almost
insane.
It's almost getting to the trillions because
making money. People want to watch.
People want to watch. That's where we are with women's basketball right now. And you can't put the onus on the coaches because the coaches are going to do what they have to do to win.
Yeah.
If you're going to let me beat up Caitlin Clark, all right, I'm going to beat her up so I can try to win.
I want to
win. But if the rules don't allow that, then the game is you're going to be able to see Caitlin Clark in all her glory. I saw it. We played them last year, and
how was that?
She dropped 44 on us. Now Georgia dropped I think 35 or so.
Okay.
Epic game.
Yeah.
But it was 15,000 strong in Hornets Arena who left that place
loud, man.
Who left that place satisfied and wanted to come back because they got to witness something fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't just run around and beat each other up, and it was a 52 to 53 game. It was it's 80 to 78.
Entertaining. Yeah, fun to watch.
Entertaining. So those people became, if they weren't women's basketball fans, they became women's basketball fans.
Awesome.
And I think it's we share that onus, and we got to continue to grow the game because the athleticism, the level of athleticism with these young women, it's through the roof.
Yeah.
The things that they can do. Through the roof.
Yeah, and it'll continue to grow as well
because
get more athletic. Yeah.
Because we're allowing it. Like you look at Georgia Amore, for instance. She can do anything that a male can do except for dunk. I mean, some of the things, the separation that she can create, off of a crossover, off of a step back, all that kind of stuff. It makes you go, ooh, ah.
There you go.
And you want to be able to watch that, and that's what people want to watch.
Yeah, put on the show.
Put on the show. So that's where I think we're in a very important time for women's basketball, and I think the onus is on the rule makers to allow it to grow so that we can bring in more and more fans, and it will grow like the NBA did.
Yes.
The NBA went through that lull with Michael Jordan. They were the bad boys beating them up. They cleaned it up. And then we went through another stage where they were beating them up again. They cleaned it up. Now everybody wants to watch.
I love it, man. We got our last segment. It's brought to you by Blueberry Snacks. I traditionally ask my guests, what's next, because we're on What's Next podcast. So end this out, my man. Like what's next for you, and then go ahead and give your best advice to the people, our audience.
What's next for me is I get 10 days off, so I'm going to take a break.
Vacation.
Yeah, vacation.
Yeah, there you go.
We have a shutdown where we can't recruit, we can't do anything.
Okay.
School is over with. Our kids get to go home. I'm going to go and chill out at the lake, drive my boat a little bit.
Awesome. Okay.
Recharge. But
Get the mind right.
But then when we get back, we're hitting the ground running. We got a very, very busy month of September for recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to think about it, official practice is in like almost a month.
That's coming up.
Almost a month. Yeah,
Before you know it, it'll be here.
We put the practice gear on for real, and we start preparing. But I'm just excited. Next month is going to be an opportunity for us to really showcase who we are, what we want to be, with the recruiting aspect of it. In the spring, heck, we were taking kids around, showing them, and I felt like I was a kid on a visit. I was learning everything, about university.
That's funny.
We know more and more about it, and so we look forward to it. And I think that, where we are and what we continue to do, we can put Kentucky back in the conversation.
I love that.
And we can do that, and anything's capable after that. So
I'll be watching. I'll be watching, man. The Memorial Coliseum. You guys make sure you tune in. Coach Kenny Brooks, thank you for coming on, man. It's been a pleasure getting to know your story a little bit. I could talk to you all day. I honestly do it, man. I love talking to coaches. So that's all we got for today, ladies and gents. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. That'll definitely help us out. Pleasure having you on, Mr. Kenny Brooks, once again. And stay tuned for the next episode of What's Next podcast. We'll be back again next week.
Go Cats.